But if you guys take a look at the stands, all the seats, even the courtside seats, are empty.
You won't believe how much the recent playoff ratings have already dropped, according to official disclosure. A.A. Wilson was eliminated from the playoffs, and guess what? Nobody gives a damn if Caitlyn isn't participating. Count me out.
It now because I may not talk about the WNBA again until April.
Well, okay.
Trust me, I'm not going to be watching. I can't. I'm not going to be watching.
That's correct. The lack of Caitlyn is making viewers refuse to watch the WNBA. It's not enjoyable, which is why the ratings have already dropped by an astounding 50%.
Let's just say the ratings aren't the same with Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever now eliminated. Game 1 of the Aces Liberty matchup on Sunday drew an average of 929,000 viewers. Was down nearly 50% from last Sunday's Fever Sun contest. By the way, not only was viewership down, but attendance was as well.
With just DJ Carrington and Alyssa Thomas remaining, the WNBA is in dire straits as attendance is steadily declining with each game. A.I.A. Wilson, the league's final true star, was just eliminated, but even while she was competing, she was unable to draw crowds.
I understand Caitlin Clark is a superstar in the making, okay? I understand she's arguably a generational talent. I get all of that. But to put something like this up and to just sit there and say that she's the reason why the WNBA ratings are what they are is straight up dumb.
Let's get honest. The WNBA's decline in viewership may be attributed primarily to Caitlin Clark's influence. For example, when Wilson plays, the WNBA calculates over 1 million viewers. When she does, they receive 400,000. Add in the MVP, and by the end of the season, the WNBA is in disarray.
Only the Aces sell out every game. They got 4 Olympians. They got Asia Wilson, unanimous MVP. They got Kelsey Plum, who was the #1 overall pick. Jackie Young was on the Olympic team. Chelsea Gray was on the Olympic team. I don't get it.
This is the result of failing to safeguard your star player. Even throughout the playoffs, Caitlyn was pushed, shoved, and prodded in every game with no calls made. Nothing has changed since Caitlyn's black eye injury. The WNBA is reeling, and no one is paying attention.
And then WNBA players got upset. We don't have the privilege of just playing basketball. We have to care about these social issues. She's playing in a social issues league that wants to wear shirts that say vote, push some sort of political agenda. She just wants the ball.
Since Caitlin Clark's Indiana Fever were eliminated from the competition, the WNBA has struggled to keep up its momentum. This wasn't just any loss. Rather, it was a pivotal moment that demonstrated how important Clark has been to the league. Since then, the WNBA has faced a crisis in viewership that many in the league either didn't see coming or maybe chose to ignore.
All the women that have been calling for the equality, and now that there is the chance for them to start getting paid more because the exposure's up. Because it's her, you have people like, what's her name, Jamelia Hill or what? I can't stand her.
Yeah.
You got these women who are coming on here and they're saying it's because she's white.
In addition to being a rising star, Clark is a fan favorite who goes above and beyond the game. Her charisma, play style, and ability to captivate spectators from all over the world have made her the focal point of the WNBA's most watched games. And now that she is not there, the stats speak for themselves.
The ratings, I believe, 2 Sundays ago with Caitlin Clark, she drew 1.8 million viewers on an NFL Sunday. This past NFL Sunday, Asia Wilson drew 900,000.
The league was shaken by the Fever's elimination, and ever since, ratings have fallen. According to early reports, viewership declined sharply in the immediate aftermath of Clark's departure, and as the playoffs drew near, attendance declined even more. What had once looked like a banner year for the league has now become a sobering reminder of just how much the Caitlin Clark effect had fueled their success.
There's a reason 12 million people are watching ESPN for a game. If that game was on CBS, they probably would have had 25, 30 million people watching that game.
Caitlin Clark's talent and charm made her an instant sensation on the court. Thus, the NBA's reliance on her was maybe unavoidable. When the Indiana Fever played on the road, fans of Clark frequently packed the stands, drowning out home team supporters and making every away game feel more like a home court advantage. Clark's influence on the team made the Indiana Fever the most watched team in the league.
Every single time that they were on the road. You even had Dallas Wings players saying, like, it kind of sucks seeing so many Indiana Fever and 2020 or 22 jerseys in the stands, but it's also cool to see a lot of people in the stands. Like, Indiana Fever was turning away games into home games, and so it's kind of sad that through all of that, Caitlin was still advocating for players on the other team to get bonuses because she saw the kind of money and eyeballs and viewership that all of this was.
Fans watched her every move, whether she was shooting three-pointers from deep or directing fast break moves with pinpoint accuracy, leaving an indelible impression on the WNBA. Her dynamic playstyle has drawn comparisons to some of the NBA's most marketable talents and is unlike anything the league has seen in recent memory. It is truly amazing how Clark has been able to draw in a new generation of young basketball fans who may not have previously been interested in the WNBA. She has successfully closed the gap between casual viewers and diehard supporters, building a fan base that goes beyond traditional fan bases and makes her one of the sport's most sought-after athletes.
Game 1 of the playoffs, the Fever had nearly 2 million viewers tuning in, while all the other games had around 400,000. Even the WNBA Countdown, which was aired before the Indiana Fever game, had more viewers than 2 of the series.
Since Clark left the WNBA, fans have noticed a noticeable drop in enthusiasm. The league's regular season excitement and energy seem to have dissipated, leaving fans accustomed to watching her light up the court now find themselves less invested in the playoff matchups, with no other player able to replicate her unique combination of star power and fan appeal.
She's the only one that I've seen other than Steph Curry that can do that. She's incredible. She's the best player to watch. I've said this all year. She's the best player to watch playing basketball other than Steph Curry.
However, the WNBA's mishandling of Caitlin Clark's increasing influence has proven to be a major mistake this season. Rather than acknowledging that Clark was more than just another rookie, the league seemed to downplay the excitement surrounding her. The league seemed slow to embrace Clark as the star she had become, treating her with the same old guard mentality that has caused the WNBA problems in the past.
Who's the best player in the country?
To the media or me?
As you see it.
I feel like I'm the best player in the country.
To exacerbate the situation, because the WNBA has chosen to keep the voting process secretive, fans are outraged and believe that Clark was denied what was rightfully hers. The WNBA's decision to keep the voting process secretive has only exacerbated fan frustrations. Transparency is important for maintaining credibility, especially when it comes to award voting. Many people think that the league took this intentional action to stop Clark supporters from being even more upset or critical of her, but instead of that, it backfired, making her fans furious.
Ever since, Angel Reese had that injury, to me, and also coming off of Olympic break, Caitlin Clark separated herself. Yeah. She should have been unanimous. Now, to celebrate her, one thing that people forget is as a rookie, she was the most blitzed player in the WNBA, and she still put up 19, 5, and 8 assists.
The WNBA and its fan base are at odds over the decision to not name Clark the 6th consecutive unanimous Rookie of the Year winner in league history. Many fans are furious, accusing the league of failing to give Clark the credit she deserves and are demanding explanations for how the voting process was handled.
Do you want me to just say I told you so, or are you willing to say, Stephen A., you did tell us? Really? Caitlin Clark is the golden goose.
The WNBA's handling of Clark's ascent has been a source of frustration for many fans and analysts. They believe that her exclusion from such an accolade, particularly considering the impact she has had on the league, speaks to a larger problem. The WNBA is unwilling to change and to elevate its brightest young stars in the same way that other sports leagues do. This frustration has been stoked by the uproar surrounding the Rookie of the Year vote. Supporters of Clark believe that the league's refusal to recognize her influence is a direct slap in the face, and the subsequent decline in viewership only serves to confirm their worries. After all, if the WNBA can't properly celebrate its biggest emerging talent, what chance does it have of attracting new viewers?
The WNBA has been a mess this year. It has been so unprofessional, and they need to step it up, and they need to step it up quick, and they also need to, I don't know if an apology is warranted to Caitlin Clark, or they just need to, in general, do better.
A.A. Wilson's complaints reflect a major problem with the WNBA, which has long struggled to gain traction in the same way that the NBA or even women's college basketball has. it hasn't been able to penetrate mainstream sports culture. Wilson, despite being some of the greatest names in the game for a long time, neither Diana Taurasi nor Breanna Stewart have been able to drive the same level of engagement that Clark has in such a short amount of time.
A'ja Wilson has had the most difficult season of her career. She couldn't get the credit she deserved because Caitlin Clark showed up, and this is proof that her life is 10 times as hard as, to get the same.
However, many are concerned about the NBA's future because of its unwillingness to fully embrace her star power. If the league can't figure out how to take advantage of this kind of generational talent, it runs the risk of stunting its own growth. Instead of taking the WNBA to new heights, the league may regrettably look back on its treatment of Clark's growing impact. Clark is not simply another talented player. Rather, she symbolizes a significant shift in how fans can view the sport. The reluctance to fully embrace Clark's stardom has led many to question whether the league can actually progress.
This draft class, 2024, led by Caitlin Clark, it's going to be one. It's going to be one. They're going to remember this.
Oh, yeah.
And these salaries, these women salaries.
It's going to continue to go up.
Yep.
Influence extends beyond a court. She is responsible for attracting a new generation of WNBA viewers, making this season the most watched in the league's history. Her highlight plays, her long-range shooting, and her fierce competition have attracted viewers who may not have otherwise paid attention to anything other than a basketball player. Some people consider Caitlin Clark to be a cultural figure that goes beyond athletics.
Just an amazing passer.
Yeah.
Probably one of the most creative passers I've ever seen, along with the Magic Johnson, that type of passer. She makes long, short pass, bounce pass. I mean, incredible passes. And her teammates have been really good. They catch them and they finish. I mean, they've done a really good job with her.
The WNBA finds itself in a precarious position as the playoffs continue without Clark. The drop in viewership is not just a temporary problem. It could have long-lasting effects on the league's overall popularity. Clark has drawn in new audiences young and old, male and female, and from all over the world. The league's failure to recognize this has not only alienated her massive fan base, but has also done damage to its own growth prospects. The WNBA is struggling to figure out how they lost the momentum they had developed throughout the season as the ratings continue to plummet. With every game that goes by, the Caitlin Clark effect becomes more and more noticeable as fans who had once tuned in religiously start to lose interest. Even A.A. Wilson's celebrity hasn't been sufficient to halt the damage. Wilson and other players have tried their hardest to keep the league competitive in Clark's absence, but the gap her departure has left is too great to be filled. As a result, the WNBA must now face the consequences of its actions and the truth of what it did not fully recognize in Clark's contribution.
I feel like after the break, I still don't think she's dominating, but she's a different player than she was in the first half of the season.
While Clark is still under contract with the Indiana Fever, there is a lot of speculation about her future in the NBA. There are particular worries that she might look to take her talents abroad, where players are frequently paid more and treated with more respect. The EuroLeague offers lucrative contracts and a basketball environment where players like Clark are valued for their star power and influence, both on and off the court.
To me, Angel may have exceeded expectations even more so than Caitlin.
Yep.
And the reason why I say that is when you're drafted number one, you're drafted number one for a reason. And when you look at her career in college, Caitlin was a great collegiate player. When you look at Angel drafted number 7, the expectations people had on her to me, weren't the same as the player that's drafted number 1.
The WNBA runs the risk of losing its best players, people like Clark, who have the ability to take the league to new heights, to other leagues if it doesn't make big changes to the way it handles them. Although it may seem unlikely at this point, Clark may take her skills elsewhere if the WNBA keeps mismanaging its most prized assets. The league must now confront the stark truth. In addition to being a player, Caitlin Clark is a movement and a cultural influence that has changed the perception of what women's basketball can be. If the league doesn't modify its approach and embrace its developing stars, it could lose more than just numbers. It could lose the future of the sport.
That the paying customer, the audience, didn't feel that way. They did not give a damn about the WNBA. Is that fair to the ladies? No, it isn't fair. But they're the paying customer. You don't tell them what they want. They tell you what they want. And they really were not feeling the WNBA to the degree that they're feeling the WNBA now, obviously because of Caitlin Clark.
The league is at a crossroads. While it may develop rapidly by capitalizing on the popularity of players like Caitlin Clark, if it continues to disregard the obvious indicators of her impact, it may find itself reverting to obscurity. The WNBA was expected to take advantage of its expanding fan base, increasing exposure, and rising star power in the 2024 season, which was meant to be a turning point. However, it has instead turned into a warning about what happens when a league fails to acknowledge its greatest asset.
Would you allow Caitlin Clark, if you were her coach, to shoot the way she shoots?
And further back if she wants.
There's no bad shot then for her.
He's like Steph Curry.
In addition to exposing a brief decline in viewership, Clark's elimination from the playoffs has highlighted a more serious problem: the league's unwillingness to embrace its up-and-coming talent and update its methods. Although the WNBA has improved recently, it still lags behind in areas such as player promotion and marketing fan interaction. Although players like Aya Wilson and Breanna Stewart have contributed to the league's advancement, the arrival of Caitlin Clark marked a shift. The WNBA needs to determine how to better highlight its stars, give them the credit they deserve, and halt the decline in viewership that has occurred since Clark's elimination from the playoffs. The failure to generate momentum behind the players who can steer the league's future is what's causing the ratings to decrease, not just the loss of one star.
Number of viewers for WNBA games that Caitlin Clark is not in is like 3 to 4 million. When she's in the game, when it's her game playing, it's like 17 million.
Yeah. Well, I also look at the attendance in the arena.
Yes.
It's 8 to 10,000 everywhere else. Caitlin Clark, 17, 18,000.
The WNBA's future is uncertain, but one thing is certain. The Caitlin Clark effect is real, and it's changing the women's basketball landscape. Whether the league chooses to embrace this or not will determine how long it survives. It's not just about winning titles and medals. It's about identifying players who have the potential to take the WNBA to new heights, and Caitlin Clark is currently the player who best embodies that potential. More videos are now visible if you like them, and subscribe.